Welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minute. We'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel, 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
And Dave.
And today we're here to end out the week with minute 54 of Jurassic Park 3. But before we get to that, David, we were going to save all the news for Jurassic Minutes each month, but there's one little news story that hit this week, and we couldn't skip it. Lego has finally dipped their toe back in the Jurassic Park line, and we're getting a nice big custom, or nice big Tyrannosaur and the Jurassic Park gates.
Yep. They're supposed to be like really big, and judging by the size they've got with the scale here with the minifigures, it's going to be, I don't know, the gate's probably at least over a foot tall. Yeah, it says, and the T-Rex is supposed to be like 27 inches long.
Wow.
And it's fully articulated as well.
Yeah, well, just looking at the gates first off before we get to the Rex itself, I didn't realise until I see more photos the fact that it's there's been some fans complaining and praising the fact that you turn around, it's got sort of like a dollhouse set up at the back where you got separate levels with different themes. You got the control room, and this leads into the minifigs that come with it as well. Control room with a minifig of Arnold, which is fantastic. Nedry and the computers, and so you got a little minifig of Nedry as well. There's a toilet there, but sadly no Gennaro, which is a shame.
Yeah, kind of a missed opportunity there, to be honest.
Yep. We also get a Hammond, an Ellie, and a Grant minifig as well, and a Malcolm, which fills out the 93 cast pretty well when it comes to minifigs.
Yeah, the T-Rex itself is... Oh, well, before we get to the T-Rex, the gate is actually really, really cool because I think the idea to include all these kind of mini scenes in the gate was actually really clever. I kind of wish, though, that the gate was shaped a little bit more like the original gate and didn't kind of look like a mix between the Jurassic World gate and the Jurassic Park gate in the way that it's sloped.
Yeah, it's a lot wider at the base than what the original Jurassic Park gates were.
Yeah, the Jurassic World gate kind of angled and curved upwards, whereas the original gate just had like a trapezoidal straight angle down. Yeah. And I think they probably could have designed that part better. But other than that, it looks really good. I mean, they got like tons of great little details. They got all the little flames around it. They got what looks like a sticker that you add onto the name plate at the top. And something really clever is they have tire tracks going on either side of the electronic rail, and that goes through the middle of the door. Yeah,
yep. Yeah, good little details like that. Also, it's sort of the last set they'd done, the Velociraptor chase. It had the sort of the kitchen, the control room, and the hatchery all merged into one. It's like we discussed when that came out, and when I finally got it and put it together, just how they're only sort of dipping their toe into Jurassic Park Lego that way, not Jurassic World stuff, and merging a couple of different scenes into one is probably the better way for them to go.
Yeah.
Probably have more sales. And here, again, while you've got the gates, you've still got that bit of playability in the back with the separate locations, without having a visitor centre to put some of this stuff in. But the big girl herself, the Tyrannosaur.
Before we got to the Tyrannosaur, I was going to mention one thing about the Hammond minifigure, is that it's got if you look at it, if you zoom in on the face, it's got a gap in the teeth, which is really clever because that was something that Richard Attenborough was kind of noted for in his face when his facial features was this large gap in between his front teeth. And I just thought that was like a really interesting feature because, I mean, you don't really see that level of detail in most places.
Well, a lot of minifigs, their heads are pretty interchangeable. Like Owen's head's been reused on a lot of the ACU, ACU troops and stuff like that across the sets, and you do get a lot of that reused face sculpts and that on them. And here's something that seems to be pretty unique. I can't recall any other Lego sets having a character with the gapped front teeth like that. So yeah, good little bit of detail looking back at the original film and the character that's portraying.
Yeah, as you were saying, the T-Rex herself. I was going to ask, I haven't really talked to you about your opinion on the design of it.
It's different. I think because of the size, I wouldn't, and the price being $250 set US, I wouldn't have taken just an upscaled version of the molded plastic Tyrannosaur we got for the T-Rex breakout and or the T-Rex caption, that sort of thing. As cool as a big mold Rex like that would be, the Rex itself, I do like how you got that little bit of a colour through it. You got the browns on the back and then the creams as it goes down a bit lower, but it's a weird looking Rex. I thought it looked a lot like some customs we've seen over the years that people have done with the T-Rex breakout and the Explorers and that, but it is articulated as you said, but it's sort of, I still reckon it's hard to do an animal in Lego without having moulded plastic already, just having the pieces.
My biggest complaints about it are the color. I think the brown definitely could have come down on the design more, so that the kind of tan was more as part of the underbelly instead of along the sides and the face and all that. But another thing is that the head design is like really generic, and the face in a way almost looks like they designed it with like repacking in mind. Like they're gonna they could re-release the design as a different as unlicensed, you know.
Mm.
And it's just kind of bugs me about it because the face just does not look Jurassic Park T-Rex at all, you know.
Yeah, I wonder again if that's just the fact they've got to use blocks, and you can only use so many blocks in so many ways to get a Tyrannosaur head or one animal head looking like that, and you're not going to have the minute details that you would between the crashed T-Rex and a more generic Rex as well.
But it's still, but at the same time, as somebody who's like was an avid Jurassic or avid Lego person when he was a kid, I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the way that they did the face. I'm already thinking ways that I could fix it. You know?
Yeah.
Just making it look more like the Jurassic Park T-Rex, and I'm just thinking like ways I could add the kind of the horned brow and the bumps on the snout and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Even sort of looking at the tail and the side of the belly and that, most of those cream pieces are all fairly large single pieces. Maybe even just getting on the brick link and getting that brown just to continue the brown down.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they could have definitely added more brown coloration to this.
Yeah. But just looking at the two as they sort of complement each other, I'm all in for this for the gates themselves. I yesterday my local Target's having a clearance on their Fresh and Throw T-Rex, so I picked up a second one. I didn't get all 5, but I'd be more than happy to have either that or the Super Colossal, whichever one scales better with these Lego gates and not have this Tyrannosaur at all. Because having a Lego T-Rex,
I mean, I won't deny it looks cool, but in the same vein, it looks very generic. I mean, the design itself is very well done, but the design doesn't exactly speak Jurassic Park to me.
Yeah. And that's one thing to consider too, when, as you were saying before, like having it being reused for other sets or something non-Jurassic related. That's one big thing in toy making and toy design. If they can engineer something and be able to reuse it again without engineering too much more on it, they'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
You see that a lot of time with action figures and that.
And actually, I found an article here on the Brothers Brick there where they do an interview talking to the guy that designed it, Mark Stafford. And it's interesting because you can see next to the actually finished design images of, not images, but they kind of side by side the prototype and then the final, and the prototype gate actually has more of that kind of straight angled look to it than the final does.
Yeah, it certainly does. But the Tyrannosaur looks a little bit worse too.
Yeah. And then couple more things to say about this is it is I believe a Lego store exclusive.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it's the 250 price point is, I think, Lego prices per piece. So that explains the high price point, because it has over 3,000 pieces.
Mm.
Big set.
Yeah. On coming to the store on July 1st, it seems, for those that aren't Lego VIPs. So this might be one that's going to be a bit hard to get.
Mm-hmm. I'd imagine you could probably find it on the Lego store online. I think they have a lot of their exclusives, Lego store exclusives, on their site as well. But the shipping, I could imagine, would up the cost.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, my parents got me for Christmas the Star Destroyer, the Ultimate Collector Series Star Destroyer. And the thing was like 5,000 pieces, and came in a box that was I could probably have laid in it. And I finished the thing in like 2 weeks, which was like a week quicker than the average, I think. But it was so big, I almost broke it a couple times trying to just put it together. Yeah, the shipping costs on that thing, because what my parents did was, when I was 12 at the time, and my parents had kind of, when I wasn't paying attention, we went to Disney World for my little cousin's 5th birthday, and at some point at the Lego part, they must have purchased it and had them ship it back to our house. Yep. And I don't even want to know what the shipping must have cost. From Florida to Illinois.
Wow. Well, you get a lot of people that attend like the Comic-Cons and that over there, and instead of buying stuff and having it go home on the plane with them, they'll try and ship it all home from there as well.
And they do offer that a lot, which when I was doing Celebration at Chicago, when they did the Star Wars Celebration last April, I was grateful that I lived close by and I could get everything home on the train. You know?
Yeah, well, that'd be a lot better than flying.
You know what this is?
That's a raptor claw. I used to have one. Fossil.
Mine is new.
Over at Jurassic-Pedia, it's about time we brought this up since we got the Spinosaur arriving back on the scene here. We have a fantastic article by yourself on the Spinosaur, recently updated to include the DPG 1999 creation of the animal that was on the marketing, and some of the animal's facts, and where we sort of see it attacking across the island.
Yeah. This was part of a campaign I did to create articles. We did a number of articles, including the 4 T-Rex we see, the Jurassic Park T-Rex, the big one, the Worker Village Raptors, Friar Tuck, the Pachycephalosaurus, Elvis, the Parasaurolophus, a couple others, just to kind of round out the encyclopedia with some dinosaur characters. And this one, I decided I did a couple of them myself, and some of the other people did some of the other ones, and so this one was about the Spinosaurus dinosaur, the individual, not the species.
Yeah, well, it's always, or for a long time, been described as sort of the villain and the slasher of the film. More so than sort of animals we see before, just through its aggression and ruthlessness to chase down these humans and eat them. But I suppose you could sort of counter that, because really, it attacking the plane to start with, well, the plane ran into it, so it's, hey, you hurt me, so I'm going to eat you. And then we don't see it again until this minute, where it just suddenly turns back up, and I suppose we can talk about that when we get there, whether or not it was tracking the humans, or whether we've just sort of come back into its territory again. And as we sort of said last minute, the fence here that we come across might be built specifically to try and keep this animal in, and we're just in its territory and where it lives. But yeah, fantastic article here. Also has the mention that we got from Colin, unfortunately, about the Spinosaur skeleton being on Main Street. how the poor animal ended its life, being on display on Nublar as a sight gag for the Tyrannosaur when it attacks. But yeah, head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com and check out this article on the Spinosaurus and some of the other animals there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got the in this article alone, we also have the Spinosaurus. The male T-Rex that the Spinosaurus takes down. Linked.
Yep. I suppose one question too, or one sort of thing in here, it's you describe as the not knowing what the sex of an animal is.
Mm-hmm.
With the amount of red on it, could that possibly lead to it being a male? Just because we get to see similar reds on the raptors and that the brachiosaur later.
It could, but I mean, just in the name of, in the name of.
Not speculating.
Not assuming I just put it down as we don't know.
Yeah, because we don't. Alright, yeah, so head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com and check out the article on the Spinosaurus and many others.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Grant, you should come look at this.
Alright, Dave, ready to get into 54.
Yep.
As we entered minute 53 of Jurassic Park 3, the two groups had come together, but either side of a massive fence. Grant had taken a step back, looking up at the fence, saying we need to find a gap here. And Paul had asked Eric, how do you know we're here? As we open on minute 54, Eric says, this phone, the stupid jingle from the store, I heard it. Paul replies, my phone? I don't have it. Amanda asks Paul when did he use it last, and Paul has to think for a moment. On the plane. I got a call on the plane, and then he suddenly realises. I lent it to Nash. He must have had it when he... At the 17-second mark, before Paul can say anything else, we suddenly hear the ringtone of the satellite phone echoing through the jungle. We zoom in on the group as they slowly turn towards the source of the sound, as we cut to the Spinosaur, at the edge of the jungle, looking down at them. At the 29-second mark, as the music intensifies, Grant doesn't look away from the animal and whispers out the corner of his mouth, run. Eric and Grant start sprinting down this section of fence, with the Spinosaur quickly catching. At the 40-second mark, Eric finds a hole in the fence and leaps through, Grant following, just as the Spinosaur lunges forward and snaps at their heels. At the 46-second mark, the Spinosaur roars in defeat, as we get a shot of the survivors now running together towards a small building, but they stop and look back, as the Spinosaur turns away from the fence. At the 52-second mark, Paul and Amanda realise to stand next to Eric and start looking over him. Grant puts his hands on his knees, exhausted, and Billy pats him on the back with a smile. But as the minute ends, we cut back to the fence as the Spinosaur roars and crashes forward through the fence, sending pieces everywhere. We cut back to the group of people as they turn and sprint for the building at the top of the canyon.
As we open on 54, Paul asks Eric, how do you know we're here? And Eric sort of laughs and says, the phone, that stupid jingle from the store, I heard it. And we sort of get this look on Paul's face from enjoyment of finding his son to absolute dread. He says, my phone, I don't have it. And Amanda asks, where did you use it last? And Paul thinks back for a moment, and I got a call on the plane, and we get that ominous music start to pick up, and Paul hesitates. And Amanda catches it and says, what? And Paul replies, I loaned it to Nash. He must have had it when he... And then we get the phone tone. Which not only is the Spinosaur a ghost or a perfect Scooby villain, but it also has the ability to project that phone ringing at the right time.
Well, it probably just had his mouth open.
Yeah, yep.
But this is another kind of Spielberg moment that we get in this movie, is the phone, which is kind of the yellow barrels of this movie. Instead of, having Jaws, they hooked 3 yellow barrels to the shark, and it was kind of the mixture of the fin and the barrels that let you know every time when the shark was around. And in this movie, not only is the signifier also yellow, but it basically signifies whenever the animal is around. you know?
Yeah, we get something similar in Jurassic Park and the Lost World with the Tyrannosaur footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we know there's an action sequence coming up, you hear those footsteps coming apart from the rotunda scene at the end of the film. But just like the Nublar Rex, the Spinosaur here is a mystic in arts and magic and can Doctor Strange himself into any location. Because we get that ominous music pick up and the phones continue to ring, and we go sort of zoom in on the group as they look back towards the tree line, and here's a Spinosaur sitting there with his mouth open a little bit and breathing heavily, just watching him, hell bent on eating him.
And yeah, this is what we mean by the animal kind of being the slasher of the franchise. Just because it doesn't really act like an animal, it acts more like Jason Voorhees, where he just stands there waiting for you to notice him and then attacks.
Yep. Yeah, and that's it. Like as we said last minute, both the script and the novel, it's pretty much announced when the animal's coming. You can hear it crashing through the trees, or you can see the sail moving above some lower trees. But it's sort of you put the question forward as to why it's hesitating and not just running straight up on them. Maybe it's been a little while since it's been near this fence and remembers the pain of getting shocked or something from it, or maybe even they're standing here pretty still too. Maybe it's got some of those same issues that the Tyrannosaur has.
Now, that's something I hadn't considered, but you could be right. It could have that visual acuity thing. But then again, in the movies, T-Rex was the only animal that had that it doesn't see you if you can't move. Grant kind of sets that up at the beginning of the first movie, where he says, you may think that Velociraptor is like the T-Rex. It'll lose you if you don't move. And so in the movies, it's kind of something unique to the Tyrannosaurus that he can't see you if you don't move, whereas in the novel, I think it originated from the frog DNA, and even the hadrosaurs kind of had the same thing going on.
Yeah. And that's the thing here too. They wanted to make this animal to be bigger and meaner and better than T-Rex. Well, you can't give it the same weakness. That's sort of odd here that it's just magically turned up again. Because we last time we seen it was after the fight, and they sort of run through the thick trees and it roars, and I think I've got to remember now. When did we last see it?
We last saw it taking down the T-Rex.
Oh yeah, it was crouched over its kill and roaring to the camera. So whether it spent time there eating its prize or went off looking somewhere else, I don't think it's been following them, because we have travelled a fair way now from where that sort of happened. We've gone down into the valley to the lab, and then presumably down that valley further away from the lab, sort of heading towards those canyons in the centre of the island.
Another reason why they might not have encountered those Spinosaurus up until now is because they were previously in raptor territory. And I recall in the novel that even the Tyrannosaurus was terrified of the raptors and hauled ass through their territory. That it did not like being around the raptors or the Carnotaurus.
Yeah, and even the Carnotaurus, for a fact, wouldn't. The raptors wouldn't come into the worker village at night time, because that was the Carnotaurus's.
But at the day, the Carnotaurus kind of hauled ass, and the raptors and the territory changed.
Yep. But we slowly get that zoom in on Grant's face, and he just speaks softly, "Run," which, whether them running is what causes it to give chase, but they all bolt, and Eric and Grant are on the wrong side of the fence as the Spinosaurus starts to bear down on them, and we get a couple of shots of everyone running along the fence, and the Spinosaurus almost in striking range. And then suddenly we see a hole in the fence, and Eric and Grant quickly leap through it just as the Spinosaur lunges forward and pokes its snout through the hole, snapping at Grant's heels, which, again, one of them little jump scares of it sort of nearly getting him. But the group sort of runs, they sort of run and group up as the Spinosaur roars in frustration. Behind them we can see a very Jurassic-looking building.
And this building is something that we actually get to see as a set piece. But before that, we, as the Spinosaurus is chasing them, the camera pulls back and we get a further view of the whole fence area, and it kind of arcs around the back. It looks like it goes in like a large circle in a way, and it's possible that that the fence had maybe a forested area. Well, we know it probably had a forested area, but it's possible that in the absence of maintenance, the parts of the fence had been brought down by trees, and that's what brought down electricity to it, because we get a couple close-ups of the wiring that kind of links the electrified panels of the fencing.
Yeah, it's not very well made. You've got the large sort of insulators sticking out from the poles, and then the wires running from one. Like, all you have to do is knock that insulator off the pole, and you're going to break the circuit. And the fences are down. So as you said, all you need is a tree or branch, and whether or not, as we discussed last minute, whether or not this was built in '93, whether it was built in '94 after the incident, whether it was built in '99 when Masrani returned to the island. If it was built earlier, then we did have the hurricane come through, and there would be trees and debris on the fence. It also makes you wonder what's powering such a large fence as well.
That's true. Maybe they would had its own geothermal power generator or something like that, linked to the fence.
Yeah. Well, even here on the canyon, wind turbines would be pretty effective too, with those thermal updrafts and that from the canyon. But but also, I suppose the fence itself here, we've got they had several sections that were made, then it was sort of CG'd. The old classic, we'll put a 20-man army here and make it 20,000. They're just expanding into the distance. But yeah, because it is weird. It's sort of this. The fence isn't really straight here in any sections. It's got this permanent curve, which would make it stronger having that curve in it. But yeah.
From the other side of the fence, though, we get a look from the outside as they're running away from the fence, and I think that's mostly the physical part that they actually built on the set part of the fence.
Yeah.
Something that kind of feels weird, though, is you look at the sky, and when the Spinosaurus was chasing from the inside, it looked like the sky was kind of dark and overcast, but then they're back out, and the sky looks sunny and partly cloudy.
Yeah, I did notice that too. It seems when they CG'd the Spinosaur and whether the shots they took for the day were different or there was continuity issue there. It's also lucky they found this broken section of fence. Like the holes punched out two of the large steel crossbeams, so it's something big. It's not compies or a raptor that have made this hole. Assumingly, it's either it trying to get out and being able to poke a hole with its snout there before, or
maybe, or just another thing of poor maintenance.
Yeah, it's there for convenience because we need the two to get through it. But as they all run away from the fence, we get a look at the observatory for the aviary here. Probably our most Jurassic-looking building we see on Sauna, period.
This was something that I've mentioned before, how my friends and I would play like Jurassic Park in the local forest preserve. This was one of those buildings that we would pretend was there because we had one section that looked a lot like the aviary, and across from that was like a little pavilion that kind of looked like this. There was like a little boathouse in a way.